Hello guys, something a little bit different today. I'm reviewing an over-the-counter medication. It's Topcare Migraine formula. Now let me state at the beginning that I'm not a doctor or a pharmacist and I have no medical training. So anything I tell you is based strictly on my experiences or something that I have read about the subject. So if you need medical advice, seek a physician, because he's the one that's qualified to give you the medical advice. Now, to start off, I have to tell you that I suffer from three painful medical conditions: costochondritis, irritable bowel syndrome, and the one that we're going to be talking about today, cluster headaches. Now, I know you guys are all playing the world's smallest violins out there, but bear with me here. There's a reason that I'm talking about this. Cluster headaches are sometimes called the alarm clock headache, and what typically happens is you wake up in the middle of the night, you have excruciating pain on one side of your head, usually in and around the eye area, and sometimes this pain can spread up to your forehead or the top of your head, or it can spread down into your jaw, neck, and shoulder area. And as a sufferer of this type of headache, let me tell you that this pain hurts like a son of a bitch. It's probably the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. And they don't really know what causes it. They know that there is an increase in activity has been found in a certain area of the brains of people when they're having these attacks. And they think that that might have something to do with it. One thing, too, is that when you have this type of headache, you might have a tendency to want to lay down, but laying down generally makes the pain worse. So you may want to sit up, or you may actually want to move around and if the pain isn't too bad, you might want to be a little bit more active than you are, because I've found that being more active tends to make you feel a little bit better for some reason. I once made the statement that the harder I work, the better I feel, which was true, because as I worked harder and was more active, the pain somewhat lessened. But what I want to talk about now is Topcare Migraine formula. Now this is available. This Topcare is my local store brand, but this is probably available under many different name brands. This is, of course, a store brand, which is probably cheaper than like Excedrin or something like that. Now what this contains is 250 milligrams of acetaminophen, 250 milligrams of aspirin, and also caffeine. And caffeine apparently is added to make it work better. Now I find this to be a very effective over-the-counter medication for cluster headaches, and I would assume also migraine headaches, so that's what it's named for. And if you have one of these headaches coming on, or you wake up in excruciating pain, I would definitely recommend that you grab a couple of these and take them, because it's definitely going to help you. I've been going through a period of the cluster headaches for several weeks now, and I had to go to work yesterday, and I was in some pain, so I took a couple of these, and they pretty much knocked out almost all of the pain. Did a really good job. One thing I failed to mention, the cluster headaches are called that because they occur like the same time every day for several days or even weeks at a time, and then they can just as suddenly disappear and be gone for 6 months or a year. So they appear in clusters like that. Another medication I'd like to show you is headache formula. Now I don't really understand is that the migraine formula, they tell you could take 2 tablets or 2 capsules only within 24 hours and no more. And the headache formula, which has the same ingredients, they say you can take every 6 hours. So I'm thinking maybe that this migraine formula might be some sort of time release, and that's why they only recommend that you take it, once every 24 hours. But if you're a sufferer of cluster headaches, and you need something to knock the pain down because you need to go to work, or you're at work and you get an attack, or you're anywhere, actually, I would recommend keeping some of this stuff on hand. course, read all your warnings on the label. I know aspirin does cause stomach bleeding, so if you have, have ulcers or problems with your stomach, or it's sensitive to aspirin or whatever, you may want to reconsider. But what I usually do is I usually take this stuff after a meal, and it really doesn't seem to bother my stomach too much if I do that. So I highly recommend a combination of aspirin, acetaminophen, caffeine for cluster headache sufferers or migraine headache sufferers. I think it's one of the better over-the-counter pain relievers for that type of condition. If you're Now, let me point out that if you're suffering severe headaches and nothing seems to help, or it's a type of headache that you've ever had before, I would see a doctor or an emergency room, because you may have a more serious condition and only they would be able to tell you that. But if you've been diagnosed with cluster or migraine headaches, I can highly recommend this type of formula because it seems to work for me. It really knocks out a lot of the pain. If you have cluster or migraine headaches and you'd like to comment about them or what you do for the pain or how you deal with them, I'd be happy to have you comment on them. And all comments are welcome. And be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. And thanks for watching my review.